Well, turning now to missing Flight 370, search teams are scanning the depths of the Indian Ocean for signs of the Malaysia airliner with a high-tech drone submarine known as the Bluefin. It takes sonar images of the ocean floor to aid in the search. Glitches cut short two previous efforts. The Bluefin is the lone underwater drone looking for Flight 370. Tom Foreman asks, why aren't similar vehicles being deployed?
The search above the water has involved dozens of planes and ships scouring thousands of square miles, so why not do the same thing below the water with this submersible robot? Why not have more than one Bluefin down there? Let's talk about that. We start with the basic premise here. What does the Bluefin do? It goes back and forth over the surface. We refer to it as mowing the lawn, taking sonic images of the ocean floor, looking for any anomalies out there. So theoretically, you could put in 5 or 10 or 20 of them, and you could have them do the same thing. And that would cut down the time dramatically. You'd be talking about covering it in a matter of days, maybe, instead of weeks or months. So why is that so hard? This is why. First off, there's an issue of availability. There are only about 100 of these in the world. The one being used right now costs about $3.5 million. So you have to find everyone who bought them out there, governments, research agencies, businesses who bought them for a purpose, who are using them, and say, give up your work and hand them over to us for an indefinite period of time for this hunt. That's a tall order to fill. Secondly, you have to have support teams for these. You need to have technicians, scientists who know how to program them, how to read the data off of them, how to maintain them, how to even put them in and out of the water. This thing weighs about 1,700 pounds. It's like lowering a small car into the water and retrieving it over and over again. It is difficult and it is dangerous. And lastly, there is the issue of the terrain. We've talked about this many times, but we have this image that they're just going down to a flat ocean floor to map it, but that may not be the case at all. It could be much more like this, with hills and crags and valleys, and these vessels down there could be going up and down and intersecting with each other and doing all sorts of things that make it so much harder than it may appear.
Now, Tom Foreman there with some fascinating perspective. The thought that the sonar device could take up to 2 months to complete its search is only adding to the family's anguish. Many of them simply don't believe what Malaysian officials are telling them. And as Ivan Watson shows us, the anger that has been on a low boil for 6 weeks now spilled over at a meeting in Beijing.
Anger and rage from families of passengers of the missing Malaysian Air Flight 370. Officials in Malaysia were supposed to hold a video conference with relatives of some of the 153 missing Chinese nationals. But technical glitches blocked the link between Kuala Lumpur and Beijing.
You're all bloody liars, and you're lying to us again now.
An interpreter translated as angry family members stormed en masse out of the room, some hurling abuse at mute Malaysian officials.
You have absolutely no shame.
Lack of information about the plane has bred suspicion here.
People were yelling liars at the screen at the Malaysian authorities.
Yes, of course, they are liars.
Stephen Wang's mother was a passenger aboard the missing flight. He's one of hundreds camped out at this Beijing hotel, waiting desperately for news about missing loved ones.
It's just like a big cage that it is full of the bad emotion. Yeah. You know, when we get into the meeting room, we could feel that, you know, sad and angry and exhausting. For more than a month, Malaysian Air has been accommodating the families of more than 100 passengers at several hotels in Beijing. It has been an agonizing vigil. Malaysian authorities left a diplomat and a representative from the airline to brief relatives on a near-daily basis. Those sessions feel like a cross-examination. Relatives ask oftentimes technical questions, questions that these men simply cannot answer. It is an unhappy, desperate, increasingly angry situation. Ivan Watson, CNN, Beijing.
Emotions boiling over.